everything you fear, painted black in the back of your mind. You just go on breathing, repeating. Heads up, hearts down, steady as she goes. Don't break step, don't make a sound. Heads up, hearts down, no one ever knows what started this exodus onward bound. Your composure slips. 22 and nothing left to do but resign to this bona fide pilgrim pride, tried and true. So you don't question this lesson. Heads up, hearts down, steady as she goes. Don't break step, don't make a sound. Heads up, hearts down, no one ever knows what started this exodus onward bound. I try to find my strength inside the sound, but I can't fight darkness all around. I'm bleeding till I drown. Heads up, hearts down, steady as she goes. Don't break step, don't make a sound. Heads up, hearts down, no one ever knows what started this exodus onward bound.
Hello and welcome to Under the Gun, presented by Crush Live Poker. I'm David Tuchman here each and every Wednesday, usually at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, but we got an early show for you today, and it should be really cool, actually. Got a lot of guests coming in. Pretty excited. I've got Chance Kornuth joining us very shortly. Hopefully Doug Polk will be joining us. Mike Dentale. We're going to talk a lot of heads-up match, the big Dentale Cate Hall grudge match taking place in just 4 short days in Pittsburgh. Got a couple of good hands of the week. One from day 2 of the WPT in Bay 101 for me that I played against Garrett Greer. And another one that I observed while playing No Limit Hold'em yesterday. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Once again, we are here at CrushLivePoker.com. This is Under the Gun. We are here each and every Wednesday, and we are live. If you want to join us, you can. Call us in at 323-825-5134. Or, of course, many of you I know listen to the podcast or watch the video on YouTube after the fact. We do have our new YouTube channel. Check it out at Crush Live Poker. Make sure you click on that heart button and follow us, subscribe, do whatever you have to do. But we are over there. If you want to get 1 month free over at CrushLivePoker.com, you can using the code DTA403. Once again, that's DTA403. Without further ado, let's get Chance Kornuth on the line. See what my boy has to say. Chance has been, he's everywhere, man. Nothing but love for the guy. He is a class act, a great poker player, obviously. And he has started a new venture called Chip Leader Coaching. So we'll talk to him about that as well as other stuff as well. Let's see what we got going on with my boy. Once again, guys, thanks so much for joining us. I'm David Tuchman. You want to get a hold of me, you can. I'm at Tuck on Sports. You can also send me a direct message over at the forums. You can send me an email at davidt@crushllivepoker.com. And without further ado, let's get my man on the line. Chance Kornuth, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. Good to talk to you. How you been?
Really well. I have a pretty big echo though.
Oh, do you? I could.
Yeah.
I can try you back. There's no echo on our side, but I can try you back one time.
Yeah, call me back so maybe it'll connect to my Skype instead of my phone.
Okay, I'll call you back one more time. See if we can get him back on the line here. I have some sad news as well in the poker community, and I'll get to that in a second. I'm not sure if Chance knows the news or not, but we'll see where we're at with that. Okay, let's see one more time if we can get him. Hopefully that'll work better.
Okay, I guess we'll use the cell phone.
Is this better?
Yeah, I don't hear myself anymore. So.
Awesome, that's good. Okay, cool. Anyway, hey, listen, I don't know if you've heard awful news about Shetty. Did you?
Yeah, I did just hear that. That is unbelievable. We send our love out from, Emily and I, and we're really sorry to hear it.
Yeah, I was just gutted. I mean, I met Shetty a couple of years, like 3 years ago when I was down in Florida, and he's such a good guy, and such a family guy and everything. And for anybody who doesn't know, he just tweeted out that apparently his wife and mother of his children passed away. So it's like beyond the words. It just it reminds me like how unimportant sometimes other things are in poker and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So unreal. Anyway, let's. Sounds kind of almost pointless now, but anyway, let's get on to you. It's funny. I had Johnny Beaupre on the line a couple of weeks ago and had no idea he was involved with chip leader coaching at all.
Oh yeah, he has an excellent business mind, and in fact, this whole thing was his idea.
Okay, so how did it start?
He was doing some coaching for profit for some online cash games, like some big, large one that they run out there. I don't really know too much about it. It's a Euro one. And he said that we should do it for tournaments. And because of the recent success, and it was a good time to just strike while the iron was hot, and we decided to give it a roll. And we've had a lot of positive feedback. The people who are currently involved are really liking it, and we're having fun ourselves.
I just watched the video. You have a really unique business model in the sense that you don't charge a monthly fee. In fact, you don't really charge at all. It's kind of like you're coaching players for free, and when they win, they give you a percentage of their winnings.
Yeah, I mean, we expect that our students receive a very high ROI increase. Like we're expecting between 20 and 50% ROI increases, and we charge 5% of each time to cash. And so we think that it's going to be a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Is there a cap on how much they can pay you? Or no?
Yeah, it's until they cash for 400, so for 20,000 cap.
Oh, that's it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. It's funny. I had Johnny on the line a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about it. And I guess I wasn't 100% clear, but I knew I was having you on in 2 weeks, so I wanted to get into it with you. Okay, so at most they'll ever pay you is $20,000.
Yeah, and there's group sessions every week. There's one-on-one sessions with a fairly high frequency. There's hand history review, and just a lot of really good tools like one-on-one with myself and other coaches, and just. We think that it's going to be a really good method for people honing their game who already know what they're doing.
Yeah, it sounds pretty awesome. Chance Kornuth, by the way, guys, if you want to check out Chip Leader Coaching, you can. Really simple. It's chipleadercoaching.com. You can also follow Chance. I have him up on the thing here. You can follow him at Chance's Cards. You mentioned Emily. How is your lovely wife?
She's great. She's in China right now visiting her mom, and I'm in Denver visiting my dad for his birthday. So it's the first time we've been so far away and missing each other, but she'll be back soon. So,
how's married life treating you?
It's fantastic. We're enjoying it. We just moved to DC and started a whole new chapter, and we're excited to see what it brings.
Listen, I don't want to mince words. After being at the Satellite, where you and Emily were flirting and started dating and everything, and I was at the table, I felt like I had a part in it. And then not to be invited to the wedding. Man, I got to tell you, I'm crushed.
I know. I mean, we feel horrible about that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's so terrible in the poker world because so many people, you see, and then you're like, oh, dang, of course. And I was talking to Ben Lamb recently because he's engaged and getting married soon. He's like, you didn't just go through all your contacts? And I was like, wow, that would have been so smart. And I don't know why we didn't do it that way.
It's hard. Honestly, you have to kind of make a choice, I think, and be like, okay, well, I especially with you. I mean, you and Emily, you guys are like constantly smiling, and you have so many friends. Unless you're gonna have a wedding that has like 600 people there, you have to just draw the line somewhere.
Well, no, I mean, we weren't trying to draw the line by not inviting you. We just honestly forgot.
No, no, no,
But,
no, no,
I
no,
mean,
no,
it
no.
was definitely...
Listen. No, I was just fucking with you, man. I wasn't expecting to be invited. Honestly, I tell the story though whenever you come up, if I'm doing commentary and somebody's like, "Oh, Chance is crushing this thing," or for some reason you and Emily come up. I often bring up the story. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Chance and I, we weren't really friends. We were acquaintances. I'd done commentary with him. He backed me in a tournament one year. We sat down at a $500 satellite and just randomly, Emily is dealing. And then, I find out weeks and months later you guys are dating and then eventually get married. Anyway, I think it's an awesome story and I like it.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, the summer before that, she was dealing to my brother Adam, who used to play a lot of poker. And he was like, I'm married, don't take this the wrong way, but you're beautiful, I have a brother. And I didn't actually meet her until a year later. My brother and I were both playing a satellite to the 25K 6 max. And she was dealing, and she was like, hey, remember? I told you I have a brother, he's right there.
How so random.
So probably about a week away from when that happened with you.
Oh, okay, that was a week before?
Or a week after, but it was so funny because so many people had like a hand in it, it felt like.
That's pretty cool. Well, you guys are like, honestly, you guys are like this perfect couple, so I think it makes everybody happy. Hey, let's talk about you for a second in just terms of poker. So I went on your site, Chip Leader Coaching, and you guys can check it out too. It's a pretty cool video. I might even play it at the end of the podcast for any of you on YouTube. You can watch it. You talk about this unique way of coaching and approaching the game, and I wonder, because you seem so cash, and you seem so relaxed. Was there something in your game or something that clicked? That kind of like, was that aha moment, an epiphany, whatever it might have been, that turned you into the player you are?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there's a lot of stuff. And, I actually went through the Tommy Angelo teaching course. He's kind of, he's basically in the exact same category as Elliot Rowe. And I did his mindfulness thing back in 2009, maybe. And it definitely helped. And, I still have problem playing my A game the whole time. And I think that a lot of people do. Or they just get complacent and they think they're being C game or their A game because they're not actually focused or whatever it is. But mindfulness and the Tommy Angelo thing definitely changed my poker career.
Was there something in terms of for you? Was there a problem? Did you have trouble focusing for long times? Was it a problem with tilt? Was there an issue if somebody at the table that didn't allow you to be the table captain? Whatever it might have been.
Yeah, all those happen all the time. We all have, a focus skill, a tilt skill, and those factors do come into effect. And some people tilt worse than others, some people focus less than others. But I definitely think that affects all of us. Was there
a particular Achilles heel for you, or was it really just everything?
Yeah, I think so many different categories of my life and poker game improved through that it'd be hard to nail down just one thing.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so I'm curious now, getting back to Chip Leader Coaching, when you take on a student, and from what I'm gathering from you and the videos and the website, you personally put a ton of your own time into each student. Yeah,
absolutely, and that's why a few of our current students, they were afraid that we were going to get diluted and they were going to get less time and that I wouldn't be able to give my full attention, that type of stuff. And one of the things that I'm excited to tell on the podcast today is that the first coach that we're going to bring on is Nick Petrolangelo. And so he's going to have the next group of about 6 or 7 people, and he'll handle it and be in charge of it. And that way, each group that we bring on has as much personal time and as one-on-one attention as possible.
So how do you guys approach each? Is it a group lesson type thing, or are you literally giving each person a private lesson each time?
Well, it's one group lesson every single week, and then the private lessons for each player are determined according. So it's like if you play 10K in buy-ins or 10K in cashes or 10 tournaments, then you get another private lesson. So basically, if people aren't playing at all, they just don't get the coaching for free. We have to put in those things to protect us. And so if someone's like playing a lot and cashing for a lot, they're going to have like almost as much personal time as they want.
That makes sense. Obviously, because, hey, why wouldn't I sign up for coaching? I play 4 tournaments a year. And I'm like, but sweet, I get free coaching from Chance Kornuth and Nick Petrangelo. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest reasons that like it is the application process, and it's not like the monthly thing, is just because we're only making money if our students are successful. And so if people aren't playing a lot and working hard, then there's just no incentive for us.
Right. It's weird. In a weird way, you're almost like a Hollywood agent for children. And I'll use the analogy only because I moved out. After college, I lived in Manhattan for a couple of years, and I moved out to Hollywood and did a little bit of acting here and there. And I looked young enough that I was still playing like high school kids, So I actually got signed on by like a child agent. And the way, if anybody doesn't know, the way an agent works in Hollywood is they only get paid if you work. So it makes no sense for them to take on a client unless they think you are going to work. And when they take on children, they really do have to work with them. So they'll work with them in terms of finding them an acting coach. Sometimes, obviously getting them auditions, but, basically career guidance. And they have obviously a lot of interest in you doing well because they only get paid if you do well. So you're kind of, the similarities are actually quite appropriate, I think.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is we're really not just coaching like poker. It's not just hand like history discussion. We discuss sunglasses or no sunglasses, like a lot of like live tell stuff. When to show up, when to register, like certain things that we do believe that there's a slight edge to in every different category. And, getting to the table draws early or doubling up right away, like certain aspects are really, really important in tournaments and underrated.
All right. I like to double up right away. I think I like to do that. Is that good?
Well, I didn't want to get too much into it, but yeah, there's a lot of like really cool aspects to it.
I want to double up. Okay, white rice.
We've had a lot of success early on too, so it's been really fun.
White rice or brown rice?
Ooh, I don't know. I probably get white half the time and brown the other half.
Oh, okay. You stay balanced in your rice selection. I like that.
It depends how healthy I'm in the mood.
What makes you at the poker table?
Just like trying to enjoy myself. I plan most of the time I play, whether it's a cash session or a tournament, it's 12 hours. And so I'm trying to enjoy myself and to be there and just to have fun and go from there.
How do you do it? How do you stay? I'm a relatively happy guy. I'm generally usually smiling and having a good time, but I can't hold a candle to you. If you guys aren't familiar with who Chance Kornuth is, if you walk into a tournament room that he's playing in, he's the guy who's smiling whether he's winning or losing. It's just ridiculous. You are the one guy that it actually is really difficult to know whether you're winning or losing based on your appearance. How do you do that?
Well, I actually give a lot of that credit to Tommy Angelo, mindfulness training that I did a long time ago. But that's like one of the things that we work on in chip leader coaching as well, is like one of our students has a lot of like the mindfulness questions, and we're actually going to put up a few mindfulness videos and articles and things that will help people be in the moment more and not dwell on the negatives and in turn be happier.
Okay, I like it. Hey, your 2 cents on this heads up match, this grudge match. I saw on Twitter that you were looking to bet on Dentale at plus 135. Any takers for you so far?
Yeah. No, I think he's a dog, but I don't think he's that big of a dog.
Yeah, I by the way, I agree with you. I have money on Dentale. I have.
You got it at plus 135.
I did, yeah.
Wow. Can you send him my way?
I can, but I have to do it off the air because this person. It's kind of funny. So I put the tweet out yesterday. I was like, "Hey, anybody want to bet on the grudge match? Vig free, lines plus 135." So I got a couple of texts, and the texts basically were, "Okay, I'll take the other side. I don't want anybody to know about it, though." Like, by the way, I got a lot of responses on both sides because I wasn't really clear on which side I wanted to bet on, I guess, in the tweet, where people wanted to bet on both Cate or Dentale, and wanted to make sure that nobody knew about it. It's like the most polarizing match there is. I feel like if you bet on the wrong side, people are like, "Oh, you like Trump then." It's just like
I assume, I assume it's because both players are so outspoken when disagreed with that it's just to avoid confrontation. It's just so much easier.
Yeah, it should be fun. Yeah, but I got some down. I just thought, for me, it's just a matter of value. I have no dog in this fight. I don't really care. Frankly, I probably wasn't going to watch it, and I might still not watch it. But to me, plus 135, that's implying like a 58% edge for her.
Yeah, which is very difficult in a shallow structured heads-up match.
Yeah, I mean, especially, she's a really smart person, obviously, and I know she worked on her game, and but this is still somebody who doesn't have a ton of heads-up experience. So.
Yeah, but neither does Mike. How often does Mike get heads up in the tournament?
No. I mean, neither one of them has a lot of heads-up experience. So, I mean, that's my thought is like, okay, if one of them might have a 2 or 3% edge, that wouldn't surprise me. But
yeah, I mean, I think like 6 months ago, both of them would be like, very unprepared to play heads up in a tournament or heads up in general. And so whoever worked hard would probably be a favorite. And I assume Cate worked a reasonable amount on heads up, and I kind of assume Mike just didn't work at all.
I think that's probably the perception and probably the popular perception that she would have put more time in. But this line, by the way, is now implying that she has a 15% edge over him.
Yeah. Which I don't know.
That's fairly significant. I remember talking to like Doug Polk and Jason Less and other like heads up specialists about this, and they were like, yeah, even against a competent player, not even a heads up specialist, a competent 5'5" or 5'10" player. He's like, I might have a 6 or 7% edge.
Yeah.
So, you play much heads up or no?
I used to online. I played like on Cake Poker a reasonable when there was no time banks.
Right.
So you could just bet really big and then they would just time out. So my strategy was a little more basic. But it worked pretty well. I actually really enjoyed it.
I like that. Okay, that's
like
cool.
The concept of overbetting and playing with against extremely weak ranges and the ability to bet extremely large. I'd have some spots where I'd bet 2 or 3 pots, and it was interesting. I hadn't really solved it or thought about it too much, but just the concept of getting people to fold when you're bluffing and call 3 pots when you have it is always pretty fun.
Your recent run in No Limit is pretty impressive, considering I always thought you were just a PLO guy.
Oh yeah, thanks.
No, I mean, I know you play a little No Limit. I know you played No Limit tournament, but when I first met you, it was really clear that you preferred PLO, I guess. And is it still PLO cash? You prefer PLO cash and No Limit tournaments, or?
I mean, honestly, I really do enjoy all the games, and going back and forth between which one I'm in the mood to play is happens. But I think that I focus more on just an hourly and which one's better. And when I really got into poker, I played a $10 tournament on Full Tilt and got lucky and won my first night. And the cool thing about getting so lucky early on is that you learn a lot every time you go deep. And so I got to learn and do really well in tournaments because of that, and built a role in PLO cash because I saw fairly early on that it was just a higher hourly. And so I think I enjoy No Limit more, but I lean towards PLO because it's just better money.
Right, that makes sense. How long have you been playing?
Oh geez, probably 12 years now.
Okay. How old are you now?
30.
30 years old. Wow. Okay, I can buy that. You're like old school now already in poker.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
All these 21-year-old kids is crazy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Hey, by the way, congratulations on your cash and the WPT Bay 101.
Thanks. Always bittersweet.
Yeah, of course. What's next up for you?
Probably Florida at the end of the month.
Okay, cool. I like it.
Probably head down there for the Seminole Hard Rock Poker Open, which is just always a great tournament run by Tony Burns, and really enjoy going there, and excited to go again.
Okay, cool. Hey, listen, I normally do a hand of the week, and I don't want to throw you under the bus because I didn't actually ask you about this. So I normally on my podcast go over a hand of the week, and I was going to do that when I got off the phone with you, but it is a tournament hand, and I figured if I can get your 2 cents, it might help.
Sure.
Is that cool?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool. So this will be pretty quick. Okay, so we are midway through day 2, still like, a good 40 or 50 off the money. You know what I mean? Probably, I think 81 cash. There's probably 115 left, 120 left, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Is this when you were sitting right behind me?
Right behind you, exactly.
Okay.
Literally right behind you. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was in seat 5. Garrett Greer was in seat 3. And at this particular point, Garrett Greer was under the gun +1. So I was 2 to his left. It was a full ring table. Anyway, he opens, standard open. His normal open was like 2.2, 2.3x. So he opened under the gun +1. I'm 2 to his left.
And he had a lot of chips, right? Was he playing? Yeah,
he probably had the most chips at the table. He probably had at this point like 500,000-600,000.
Was he playing a lot of hands or not though?
He was playing a lot. Yeah, he was fairly active, but not as active right now as he was later on when we got closer to the bubble.
Okay.
At this point, he was still. I mean, he was active, but not crazy. Nothing that you'd be like, "Wow, what is this guy doing?"
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he opens under the gun 1. I'm 2 to his left. I flat with 2 8s. Suits are fairly irrelevant, but I had 2 black 8s. Flop is Queen 7-4 Rainbow. So pretty dry flop. And Garrett puts a c-bet out there. I call. Turns a 9. It goes check, check. River's a 7. And now Garrett bombs the river. He goes like probably 75% pot on river. Maybe 70% pot on river. So
what was the percentage of the pot on the flop?
His c-bet on the flop was like, I'd say 40%, 45%. Under 50.
Gotcha. Well, the thing is, our range, considering we flatted this position, not like later position, is kind of almost always a pocket pair. You don't have too many suited connectors in your range here, and you probably don't have any queens because you didn't bet the turn. So your hand is almost exactly a pair between, you said the other card was a 4, so probably between 5s and jacks. The question is, do you think that when he bets 75% on the river, he's more likely to be value betting versus that range, or do you think he's trying to bluff you off that range?
Well, okay, ask me the question one more time. Just trying to know exactly what I'm saying.
Well,
yeah,
if our perceived range is a weak 2 pair,
right?
Is Garrett going to be bombing it on the river with like a value hand, or was he trying to like make?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
pocket 8s, 9s.
Right. I guess my my perceived range was different than what you're perceiving my range would be, or at least how I perceived it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought I might have I thought I actually could have 8-7 suited and 7-6 suited type hands in my range occasionally. Like I thought I had more 7s in my range than he did.
Yeah, I mean you do. I don't know if that's true. I think he probably has more than you do.
Okay.
But the question is, I'm not sure how many he bets on the flop.
That was my
from
that was also a question. Yeah.
Perspective, I would expect him to have more suited connectors than you do.
That makes
sense.
If you
were, that's why I said cut off or button. If you're flatting late position, I'd expect you to have those, but I don't think you probably have them in early middle.
Right. Yeah, you're probably right there.
The other thing is what is he like? It doesn't really matter what we think about your actual range. The only thing that really matters is what Garrett thinks about your range.
Good point.
And he probably honestly Garrett's pretty tight, especially from early position. He has some 7s in his range. You have some queens in your range. Most good players don't take a bet flop, check turn, bet river line for value. So I would just expect him to have an overpair, a full house, or a 7.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I was at. I mean, I got a little bit confused in this particular hand. It's funny. I talked to Jason Less, who I'm friends with, and Jason was at the table too, and he and I we talk poker and poker strategy occasionally. So we brought up this hand because he wanted to know what I had, and we talked about it and everything. So I ended up paying off Garrett.
I know. I think I know what Jason would say.
In terms of,
I bet Jason said, "Well, we're too low in our range to call or something." I just know that they're so GTO perspective based that they just think about high up and low up in range.
Right. When I mean, you could make the argument that is there really any difference between 8s and if I had checked back a hand like Queen Jack suited on the turn somehow, if I decided to check that.
Well, yeah, I do think you have some of those in your turn range.
So, but I guess my where I kind of screwed myself up in this particular hand, and to be honest, there was part of me that almost wanted to raise because I incorrectly thought that I would have more sevens in my range. Like I didn't think he would bet the flop with a 7, just a 7.
Yeah, and that's why I asked about sizing, because I think if he bets like 55% of the pot on the flop, that he doesn't have any 7s in his range. But I think if he bets like between 30 and 45%, then he does have some 7s in his range.
That makes sense. Yeah, he did bet. It was definitely under 50% pot. It was probably about 40% pot, so which would make a lot more sense because that was where the hand screwed me up because the way my thought process was, I kind of looked at it thinking, okay, well, when I check back the turn, I don't have a set, but I do have some pocket pairs and I do have some 7s theoretically. And then when he bet the river so large, the way everybody was playing it was really, really, really weird, including Garrett. It didn't seem like anybody was betting just top pair for like 60 or 70% pot on the river. Like most players were really, really happy to get the showdown. Like I noticed that in the tournaments, like value betting was almost like a lost art.
Yeah.
So I incorrectly thought that I was like, well, I don't think he has a queen here. I don't think he'd bet this sizing, or I don't think he'd take this line with a queen.
Well, his sizing might be polar to an overpair or a 7, because I think he'd probably check most of his full houses. But I could be wrong.
You think he'd check most of his full houses on the river to induce?
Well, I mean, it'd be a spot to go for a check raise if he thinks you have a 7 or a queen a lot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, an overpair, I guess, makes a lot of sense. I guess I dismissed the 7. I mean, I'll be honest, Chance. I actually considered. So, I mean, I tanked for a little bit, and I was considering raising him on the river. Mm-hmm. To try to rep a 7.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a call is probably minus EV, and I think that a raise probably is plus EV. Just because I just don't think we're ever good by calling.
Right.
So we're probably losing a pretty high percentage of that bet. But by raising, I think that he could fold most of his overpairs.
Right, and obviously he's never folding a full house, and he's never folding a 7. But at least you don't think he is. Anyway, that was the one hand I wanted to kind of go through. I wasn't sure. Obviously, we can go into it deeper. I wanted your quick little take on it.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, it's like you probably look like you have a couple ace highs, some medium pairs, and some queens. So if he's bombing the river, he probably doesn't think you ever fold a queen in Might Hero, and you always fold ace high. So I could see betting big for value there in his seat.
Right. I mean, I guess the sizing on the river was also something that kind of screwed me up a little bit. Like I expected him to size it smaller.
Well, tournament players, that's one of the best things about tournaments is they have some pretty amazing sizing tells. So, I mean, just from instinct, when you say he bet 65-70% on the river, I would just be folding like almost always.
Right. Okay, hey, dude, that was good stuff, man. Hey, so chip leader coaching, just really quickly, for anybody that's listening, are you guys still taking students on?
Yeah, I mean, the application process is always open. Nick is going to have a brand new group starting in the next 2 weeks or a month, and we have not filled out his group yet. So apply away and see if Nick wants you. I mean, it's going to be a fantastic opportunity, so hopefully we get some great applicants.
Will they get to work with you as well, or is this just going to be Nick's group?
I think we're going to do some crossover because
Okay.
I think that some of my strengths in like the live tells and exploitive play, and some of his strengths lie in the GTO and other manners. And so we do want to mix it up to make it the best learning possible. The other thing is that all of the every lesson that's ever been done is put in the members area. And so once people sign up, they have all the access to all the stuff that's been done already.
That's great. Hey, once again, guys, you can check it out at chipleadercoaching.com. If you have any questions, I know you can email Chance. Is it chance@chipleadercoaching.com?
Yep.
And, of course, you can follow him on Twitter. He is at Chance's Cards. Give him a follow. Hey, dude, man, good luck to you in Florida, and God bless, buddy.
Thanks. Great talking to you.
Later, buddy.
Bye.
Chance is a class act, guys. Nothing but love for that guy. He's a good man, honestly. Always smiling, always having a good time. I got to hike with his lovely wife last summer. He had hurt his ankle. You might have seen him running, limping around the Rio. He was on crutches, playing in all the tournaments, and I had a very rare day off, so I got to go hiking with Tatiana and her dog, and her man, and Emily was there with a couple of other people. So it was kind of cool. We did Charleston, which is by the way, if you've been to Vegas but you've never been to Mount Charleston, highly recommend it. It was a great hike, honestly, fantastic. So that is Chance's. That is Chance Kornuth. I mentioned Shetty, by the way, and I will just I will put the tweet up here that he put out there. Rest in peace, Kathy. I will always love you. I promise to take care of our boys forever. The best thing that has ever happened to me is now gone. She suffered cardiac arrest yesterday and was not able to survive. She left nothing more than her boys. She leaves behind the most beautiful sons and the man she gave everything to. I don't know how to respond. We are all completely devastated with so many questions and not enough answers. I can't even imagine. Honestly, I read this about an hour and a half ago. Tears to my eyes. Shetty, I talk to Shetty all the time. You know, whether it's fantasy football or daily fantasy sports or poker or just bullshit. I talk to this guy all the time because, you know, he's a good guy. And I just can't imagine losing my girl. And it just there are things like this that just kind of put everything in perspective about what's important. So anyway, God bless. Anyway, getting back to the ace-7 hand really quick. Very simply, so it was an interesting spot. So anyway, by the way, I ended up calling, and Garrett Greer had ace-7, so he did have trip sevens. So my mistake in this particular hand. So it's funny. So I talked to Jason Less about it, right? And Jason and I talked to Chance. Jason and I talked for like 30 minutes. Chance and I was a quick little thing, but you could see how quickly Chance was able to dissect the hand, diagnose it, and basically tell me that I played it badly. And yeah, I mean, obviously I did. But it was interesting because my read of the situation was, you know, relatively early position open, but, you know, he was opening fairly wide. I just didn't think the way everybody was playing, and it was a heads-up pot, I incorrectly thought he would check call or go check when he hit his 7. I didn't think he would bet a 7, and that was my mistake. So I actually thought, I said, okay, well, I have more 7s in my range than he does. So like I said, I sincerely thought, can I raise this? And by the way, Chance and Jason both agreed that raising is probably a positive EV play and certainly better than calling. Folding, probably the best of all three options. But yeah, and my mistake just simply being I didn't think he'd bet a queen. That sizing. I didn't think he had many 7s in his range. But I guess the thing that I forgot about, and this is the problem, was he could have aces or kings. And if he has aces or kings, he can bet fold the river a fairly large amount because he's going to get paid off by all my queens. And when I have a 7, I'll raise and he can fold that. Even then, I thought he'd probably size it smaller, and I kind of leveled myself into calling. And it was I thought I played pretty well, but this was one spot where I made what was definitely a bad call. Kind of, like I said, midway through day 2. Definitely could have let it go. Anyway, thanks to Chance for that analysis. And we will continue on. I've got another hand that I'm going to go through later on. But I'm going to see if I can get Mike Dentale on the line, talk about this heads-up match. So, as I said, I have put money on Dentale. Not a personal thing. It's not because I like Mike Dentale and I don't like Cate Hall. I like Cate. I have no problem with her. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself friends with either one of them. But it's kind of funny. I saw BJ Nemeth on Twitter talking about, like, if you're betting against your friend, that's a dick move. And by the way, I rarely disagree with BJ. He and I see eye to eye on most things. But I could not disagree more when it comes to this, because if you're betting with your heart and you're betting because isn't that the equivalent of me betting on the Jets because I like the Jets, or never betting against the Jets because I like the Jets? I'm going to put my money where the value is. Now, I might not bet against the Jets in this. I bet on the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl because I thought that's where the value was. And those of you who know me know I hate the fucking Patriots. I can't stand them. But that's where the money was. NM Grinder says, hey, Tuck, what was his hand? He showed me ace-7 suited. So, he had the ace, he had a 7. He bet on the queen 7-4 flop. He bet with a backdoor flush draw and a pair of 7s. I called at the 8s. Went check on the turn. And then the river, he bombed it. I tanked, considered raising, and opted on the worst of my 3 options. I decided to call. He showed me the bad news, and I lost the pot. Bad play by me. What's up, Darren Hamilton? How are you, my man? Thanks so much, buddy. Metacom says, Tuck, can you speak to, quote-unquote, some old guy image and how to change that? I'll be honest, when I deal with my students, and I'm not a big believer in trying to change your image. I'm not a big believer in trying to, some guys are like, oh, I want to show a bluff. I can create this image. And I go, yeah, that's brilliant if you know exactly what's going to happen in the future. I go, if you're playing a tournament and I happen to know that in 1 hour, I'm going to get like aces 2 times, kings 3 times, ace-king suited 4 times. Yeah, I can create this great bluffy image because it's going to pay off in an hour. But we don't live in a world where we can tell what we're going to have in an hour. Okay, so back to reality. And we don't know. So since I can't predict the future, I don't want to try to create or change an image. What I want to do, and this is something that Chance just touched on, and same thing, is have an understanding of what your image is. Have an understanding of how your opponents see you, and then make the correct adjustments. And by the way, all your opponents might not see you the same. That's very true for a player like me. Because there are some players that'll sit down with me and assume that I'm just that commentary guy. And then there are other times where I sit down and guys know that I'm a professional poker player. Or if I play in my home casino, if I'm playing at Hustler, guys barely know me as a commentator, and most of them just know me as a grinder, and then I'm a player. So that's so Metacom, that's my advice to you, is don't try to change the image. Use it. Okay? Use what you got. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I want to get Mike Dentale on the line here. So anyway, so like I said, guys, like instead of trying to change your image and just use it. Mike Dentale is a guy who uses his image. In tournaments, generally, the guy's a nit. But he talks so much. He's so bombastic. He's so confrontational. He's in your face that you think he's bluffing way more than he is, and it's why he has some success in tournaments. And that's why I'm talking to Mike Dentale. How are you, my man?
What's up, buddy?
How are you? Everything good?
Good. Wow, I wasn't even going to pick up it. The caller ID didn't show any number.
I'm glad you picked up. You are under the gun, my man. So you are approximately, 80 hours away from the grudge match versus Cate Hall. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. I can't wait.
Yeah? Have you been, now, there is a lot, that kind of garbled up here, so I'm just going to make you a little bit louder. Say something for me.
Okay. I'm getting a little bit of an echo.
Are you? I tell you, the echo problem is there. Let me call you back in 2 seconds, okay? Maybe it'll go away.
Okay.
So we have this, apparently the first time I call anybody, we get an echo. The second time, it's not an echo. I don't know. What's up, Peter O'Neill? How are you, my man? Eric Blair. Good to see you guys. Top 2 pair, Marv. God, by the way, guys, on Twitch, we're starting to make the We are transferring also to YouTube. We're going to do both right now. In fact, Bart's actually wondering why I am streaming out of Twitch.
Hello?
Hey, Mike, what's going on, buddy? Is this better?
A lot better, yes.
Awesome, cool. It seems like second time is a charm. Anyway, Mike Dentale taking on Cate Hall in probably, 80 hours or so. This much publicized, polarizing heads-up match, the grudge match in Pittsburgh. How there is a perception that over the past few months, Cate Hall has been working on her game, being coached up, and a perception that you're just like, whatever. Have you been working? Have you been prepping?
I give you my word, on my health, on my eyes. I haven't prepped, trained, coached, read anything, did absolutely nothing.
You did nothing.
Zero.
By the way, that doesn't. That's what people think, and that doesn't make me feel any better since I put money on you, man.
I'm going to tell you something, Tuck. The way I look at it is this. I'm playing the game for so long. I've been in this position, and I give a good example. Every year I go to the WSOP. And you know what I do to make some extra money for the WSOP? I play sit and goes. And sit and goes are one-table satellites. You start out with 10 people. It's like being at a final table of a tournament. And I win close to $30,000 to $40,000 every summer. I crush them. I win maybe 7, 8 of them. And every time you got to get heads up, and you have to play it out. And,
right. But okay, let me stop you though. Your heads up situations there though, those sit and goes. By the time you're heads up, you guys are like 13 big blinds deep. Very different. Very different than. Say it again.
I agree. They start shallow, but not 13 bigs.
Okay,
I
22 bigs.
I understand your point there.
My question for you is, how much experience do you have playing a 100 big blind deep heads up match where the blinds really are not escalating? So this is basically a cash game.
That is true, and you do have a valid point. But also, how much experience has she had doing the same thing?
Listen, this is not a he versus she thing. I'm just asking you personally,
right,
in terms of your own prep.
The point I'm making is that I feel it's kind of a level playing field in that aspect, where if someone I'm playing against a girl that hasn't did that either. Now, if she's prepping and doing that, there's no prepping, when it's your own money and you put to the test to make a call or a fold. When it's your own money and you're in the game, it's a big difference. So I don't know how much of her, prepping with real money heads up. So how much experience is she getting in that aspect? So that's why I'm not too worried about, where I'm going with my prepping.
Right. I mean, how much? By the way, do you play? I actually had the pleasure of playing cash game with you at Hard Rock Seminole. I think we played 4 or 5 handed. Do you often play short-handed?
Very often. In fact, at the Borgata, when we play, there's a lot of times when there's a 5-10 or a 10 1/4, where if it gets slow after the tournaments, the games don't get off, and we play short-handed all the time. Like I said before, I mean, I get all the heads up and the hand strengths, and but like I said, my game is a field game. It's looking at you. It's just playing the game and do what I do best. I mean, I'm not too savvy with breaking it down and explaining it the correct way. Whereas, on the flip side, you get people that if you just listen to them, you're like, wow, this person must be great. Just the way they speak and their knowledge or the right words they're using. Between me and you, for me, when I'm at a table, I watch people make calls, and I'm like, and they're great players, and I'm like, how the fuck did you make that horrendous call? Or how did you make that horrendous fold? So just the way I play the game and where I feel I'm at and understanding the game, I just think I have a great concept of the game, and I've played a lot of shorthand. I played a lot of tournaments, a lot of cash. I just watched her play, Tuck. And, these idiots that watch her on a live stream, if they watch her, she basically picks up fucking huge hands every time. She backs into straights and she just fucking fires away every street. I mean, there's no fucking science. There's no logical, thinking about it and what I could do. If you watch, there is, and I'm not here to put anybody down, but there was an
But you do it so well. It comes so naturally to you, Mike.
You might be right. You know what? Maybe you're right. But the way I look at it, it's like when I played with her 3 times at 3 WPTs, and I watched her play, and you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to say it. She just is so inexperienced. And it's like when you get to a table and you see a guy crushing and you don't see his cards, you're like, wow, this guy is unbelievable. But the bottom line is, if he's running good and you don't see his cards, his game is not as good as it looked. A lot of the game gets played out because of his run of cards. And how you know, I could sit at a table with 10 people and not know any of them. Give me a half hour, and I will say, this guy's a great player. And then they might say he has, $100 in tournament earnings. And I might say, well, you know what? He's never had a shot that he deserves, but I'm watching him play, and he plays great. And then you get somebody that has some success, and, I watch the way they play, and I say, wow, this guy must run really good in the game because he has a lot of success he doesn't deserve. But then again, it's the old saying, run good, play good. Run bad, play bad. So when you're at a table and you're running bad, you start playing more hands that you shouldn't be. You start making bad calls. You start playing. It's that same thing. So, a lot of times it's her, how do you want to say it, variance or whatever you want to say. She's in a game where she came into the game running well and gets a lot of hands. And I don't think that's going to save her in a heads-up match. And I don't think she's experienced. And I've watched her. I made great calls on her. I just don't think, and I don't think she's got what it takes.
What is, do you have any strategy going into this particular heads-up match? Just so for people know, what are the actual parameters? Are you guys playing 3 $15,000 matches? Best of 3?
I'll break it all down for you. First of all, as far as the strategy, yes, I do. And
okay, well, first, before we get the strategy, though, I want to know what is. I'm not going to ask you for specifics, but I am curious. What's the breakdown?
I'll break it all down for you. As far as strategy, I do have one. I'm not going to say it on the air. I'll keep that to myself. As far as the matches, we're playing 3 $15K matches, which are the best of 3. Meaning, if I win 1, she wins 1, we play a third for a tiebreaker. If I win 2 or she wins 2, game over. Now, can we play a third match? I'm sure if we both decide and want to go that, we could do that. So we can risk 45K, yes. As far as the blind structure, we're going to start out 75, 150 in 2 hours. The blinds are going to get raised from 150 to 300.
Okay. So you start with. Okay, so we're playing 100 big blinds deep, like I said, for at least 2 hours, and then at that point, the game we will escalate the blinds a little bit, but then we'll keep it. We're never going higher than 153, right?
Correct.
Okay, fantastic. Cool. And then forget about strategy. I mean, do you have nothing going? Any thought of are you going to be min raising the button a lot? Are you going to be, anything like that? Or are you keeping it all to yourself?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something where I'm going to take my time. And what I mean by that, take my time means I'm going to break everything down. I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to get a feel for her, a feel, for the game. I don't want to rush through hands. I want to break it down more to a science because I believe she's going to make a lot of mistakes. And I'm going to look to capitalize on those mistakes. I'm going to look to take control of the match, trying to reduce the percentage of one of us running good. And if one of us do happen to run good, or have a rush of cards, that's going to change anything. Again, we all understand heads up is heads up. But I will tell you one thing. If I happen to lose this match, not only will I slit my wrists, the poker world will see the only fucking way I lost that is because she ran insanely good. There is no way she will outplay me. There's no way she will beat me by, beating me down. Will she be able to make a great call here and there? Anybody can make a good call here or there. But, constantly making great calls and great plays and great bluffs, impossible.
Okay, fair enough. I was curious if are you going to be chatting? Because obviously a big part of your game is, in your face, all the talk, all the William Kassouf speech play, call it whatever you want to call it. I don't give a shit. But basically, I know you guys. I know you like to talk at the table, but obviously the two of you are not on speaking terms. So, are you going to be talking to her? How's that going to play out?
Well, you know what? Like you said, I do talk a lot at the table.
And off
times sometimes I try to get under someone's skin for a reason.
Right.
Sometimes I just happen to be annoyed, and sometimes I just like I like to talk when I'm playing. I believe that's a tool of poker. I believe online and live are two different animals in that aspect. Part of poker is getting a read, having someone talk, having someone speak, maybe getting a little frustrated, maybe sweating a little bit, maybe, I think that's the game of poker. When they say don't talk when you're in a hand heads up, I think that's ridiculous because I think you're taking away something from the game that is part of the game.
So are you going to talk to her?
Yes, because like I was going to say, that is a major part of my game. Having a feel for somebody, making that read. I am going to talk. I mean, if she answers me, that's up to her. But she can't wear headphones, and I'm going to look to just do what I do. I mean, I'm not going to try to disrespect her or belittle her unless she deserves it, or she, but I mean, we're gonna listen. I'm a feel type of guy. I play it as it comes. I'm gonna.
By the way, I think a big thing is the fact that she can't wear headphones. I think that's actually pretty big. The fact that whether she acknowledges you or whether she acknowledges that you're talking to her or whether she talks back, you do know that she'll be hearing you and that she'll be listening to you.
100%. Like I watch her. And when I watched her play on Hard Rock Live or one of the cash streams,
right,
she had an incredible rush of cards. A fucking squirrel could have played the cards great. They were just every hand basically played itself. She and there was no skill involved. You didn't say, "Wow, she just made a great call," or "She made a great fold," or "She played that hand great." There was none of that ever. Then I watched her play cash on the bike. I was fucking embarrassed for her. I don't like her, and I was embarrassed. I almost had to turn the stream off. I never hit with the deck. It was hands that she basically had to play from skill, from just experience, and she was in the fucking dark. She played against a recreational player that basically holds a sign over his head when he has fucking aces, when he had trips. It was like something, she was so like a fish out of water. She was totally lost. And I just looked at her, and she was just a normal person that, wasn't cocky or thought she was better than she was. I wouldn't rub it in and I'd say, so be it, she's going to learn, give it time. But when you get a person that thinks they're great, and I heard a part of her interview, I feel in another 3 years I'm the best in the game and I could beat anybody, and this guy's so novice. And the way she talks, I have to call her out. I have to, say exactly what what I see. And the way she talks like she's good, she's a fucking horror show. And it showed when she was playing live at the bike. When she could not pick up hands, it showed exactly her skill level, which is atrocious. I was at a table with her. Yeah.
By the way, the current line, and this is part of the topic of this podcast, is we always look for value, whether we're betting on football, whether we're playing poker. We're looking to get our money in good spots. And I'll be honest, man, I've never seen you play heads up. I've never seen her play heads up. I've commentated on both of your play. Neither one of you is as good as me, but that's cool. That was a joke, man. How about a little laughter?
I laughed. You didn't hear it.
But in terms of money and getting it in good, the current line right now is you are at plus 135. I know you think that's ridiculous. And in fact, Mike is willing to put his money where his mouth is. He has tweeted this just 2 hours ago. He tweeted out, still looking to buy $20K more of my own action at 1.35. Looking to bet at least $10,000 per person. DM me. So if you guys want if you want to bet on Cate Hall, you can get in on the action against Dentale. I will say this out there. This is not a...
Obviously, anybody with a brain understands. Heads up, there's a lot of variance. I mean, you have to be a total horror show to really, have someone say, you know what, I'm not going to bet on this guy. But if you get two people, supposedly she has a lot of people that believe in her and think she could play. And even if you don't like me, you would still say, you know what, it could go either way. So when you see someone play at 135, it'd be insane not to bet on me. Even if you hate me, I would have to say that. But, a person in my position, to have her, the odds even go in that favor kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. And I'm saying, where does that come from? So I had a guy on Twitter make a comment. Clearly, Cate's the better player. And I kind of laughed, and I said, you know what? I hear this from a lot of her liberal friends, how they talk so confident. And I know they're behind her because they don't like me and they want her to win. But there's really nothing that they could say positively about her game that's better or my game. Because anytime I've ever been viewed on TV, I was filmed. I've always played well. I never played bad. I never made bad calls, and I never played atrociously. So I'm like, where does this come from? So I questioned one of the guys on Twitter, and he said, clearly Cate is the better player. And I said in a respectful way, because I wanted to get an honest answer. I said, why did you say that, and what did you mean by that? He's like, you know what, well, really I shouldn't have said clearly, but I meant, I seen Cate play. I never seen you play before, and I heard that you don't, she's more of a math person and you're not. That's, how I'm perceived. Here's a guy that maybe, doesn't have the aspects, doesn't have all the different aspects of poker covered.
Right. You don't know the best word. You don't have the best words yet. I know. I understand the best math.
Exactly. So they perceive and I get that. But what I find funny is before you run your mouth, do a little research on me. I mean, I'm the type of guy I do well. I make good money. So sometimes yes, I don't respect money. If I'm playing a rebuy and it's a 1K rebuy, I will fucking splash around and I will I'll rebuy 10 times. To try to build a stack. So if someone sees me at the table, that like, I've seen me in a big buy-in tournament, playing. I play, the best I could always play. And I've never been in a position where I played a hand really bad or I got bluffed out. Someone's like, ha, you played this bad or this, So for someone to come up, and say, Mike, she's so much better, I laugh.
In all fairness, I commentated on a cash game that you were in Choctaw, where you ended up moving all in on the turn with Ace King. It was atrocious. Yeah. It was atrocious, my man. I love you. And by the way,
I'm going to stop right there.
Hold on. Before you stop me.
It wasn't atrocious.
It was, dude. It was awful. It was so bad. It was ridiculous. That said, listen. I lost $100 on that too, by the way, because I put $100.
You lost $100 because I got cooler.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what I was going to follow that up with, though, I have been in the fortunate position to commentate on some of the greatest players in the world for many, many hours. And I can tell you that Phil Ivey, Alan Cunningham, Tom Dwan, Patrick Antonius, Phil Galfond, they all play hands badly from time to time. So even if I were to watch you play a hand badly, and you did play that hand badly, even if I were to watch you play a hand badly, it doesn't mean you're a bad player. I could go through dozens of hands that I played badly. In fact, I talked about a hand earlier on today that was in day 2 of the WPT that I just talked about it with Chance Kornuth that I played atrociously. But that happens.
You're right, and I understand that, and that's why I want to address this. When I say something, when I talk about a hand that I feel I didn't play bad, it's not because I'm defensive or think I don't play hands bad. I'll address that hand, but in general, yes, I played hands bad. Like you said before, the best of the best do. It's impossible not to. It's an emotional game. No matter how much you feel you're in control, sometimes you're going to be out of control. Sometimes, and a lot of times you're going to play hands bad. We all do it. It makes us better in the game.
Right.
But I'm not. I will say I might play a couple of hands bad on TV also. I haven't found any because I'm my own best critic. If I do something wrong, I'll beat myself up over it. When I do something like if I know someone's bluffing and I know to make a call, but I know it's a super tough call, and the guy will show the hand, I am so mad at myself for not making the call. Not that he bluffed me. He played the hand great. Props. I'm mad at myself that I didn't make the call. Even though the call was so tough to make, I'm still mad at myself because when I'm right, I should always go with my read. And I make mistakes, and I know what happens. But with that hand, I had a monster hand. I had a hand I felt was disguised. I had top. I wanted to get a lot of value. We weren't deep. I was never folding the hand. And for me to give him like king fucking reg and just rips the reg on the turn, I mean, you got to understand something. Could I have played the hand better? Yeah, I could have pot controlled it like a pussy, but I felt like that's a hand. I wanted to get a lot of chips in the middle. I didn't think he could ever give me top with the nut flush draw, and it's a hand I chose to play that way. I played hands where I knitted it up. I played hands where I splashed around. That's a hand maybe you might not have liked the way I played it or said I could have played it better. You can't say I played it bad, though. I think you're way out of line to say I played the hand bad.
Listen. Nobody at home knows exactly the hand we're talking about. Basically, just the short of the hand was Dentale had ace-king, so he had top pair, basically. He had top with a flush draw. Right, obviously not flush draw since you had ace-king.
And Baker had like king fucking 5 off.
Right, exactly. And on the turn, I think.
Rips the 5.
Yeah, and then you raised all in, right?
Yeah, he rips the 5 on the turn, which, like I said, when I get a read for someone's hand, obviously
hold on, stop, Mike, stop. I just want to make sure I get the action right. So you both flop the king. He turns the 5, giving him 2 pair, and then the action was
the nut flush draw. It gives me the nut flush draw.
Right. Did he bet and you raised, or did you bet he raised and you re-raised shoved?
I think, and again, I could be wrong here, and also I did get the hand history wrong because as we were discussing the hand, I was drinking, and when people do watch this on TV later, I kind of deserve a smack in my mouth because I was so adamant in the way the hand played out, and
you were wrong, right? I think it went like
totally wrong.
I think you bet he raised and then you shoved.
Right, it was something like that where I thought I played my hand. I thought I disguised my hand because we were playing with an optional straddle, and I had a straddle, and he had the straddle and he raised, and I just flatted. I didn't re-raise. So I felt like he couldn't.
Yeah, no, I don't care about your play. I don't care about your play. I can criticize your play after you're off the phone. That's fine. It was more about I just want to make sure I got the action right. But I know it was essentially, though, you ended up shoving with top pair, best kicker, and the nut flush draw on the turn.
Right.
Yeah, and the reason I don't like that, I didn't like your shove, was simply because you're never getting a better hand to fold, and you're going to get a lot of the hands that you crush are actually going to fold. You're going to get a lot of the weaker kings to fold. You're going to get smaller flush draws to fold.
Yeah, but he already raised me, Tuck. That was the point.
Right.
At that point, you got to understand. When he bet and I re-raised, I think he re-raised me, and then I pushed all in. He was the one that had to make the final call. At that point, in my mind, is he could have had top pair with an inferior kicker. He could have felt like maybe I picked up a flush draw, and I was trying to take the pot from him. The way the hand plays out is I felt like he couldn't give me, as big a hand as I had.
Right, I see.
Plus
so
I have outs. I have the nut flush draw.
Yeah. You thought you might get called by a worse king.
I felt also that, or as if he was, trying to buy the pot. I didn't mind trying. There's certain hands you got to understand that I don't mind getting it all in.
No, of course. Hey, dude, it's never terrible to get it all in. I mean, obviously, you got it all in. You still have a lot of cards that can give you the win. It's not a matter of that. Right. It's just more of a matter of, on Crush Live Poker, one of the things that we always kind of push, and it makes sense, is when we're putting chips in the pot. When we're betting or when we're raising, we're doing it for one of two reasons, generally speaking. The reasons are, especially in a cash game where you're deep, generally speaking, we're either looking to get a better hand to fold, or we're trying to get value from worse. But when you have ace-king with the flush draw, it's just really, really hard when you shove to get value from worse and to get better to fold.
I'll tell you why, a lot of times when you do that, I could play a perfect game. Like when I play, a 10K tournament, I play perfect, but it gets boring. And what I mean by that is you're folding a lot of hands, you're pot controlling a lot of hands, you're, check calling a lot of hands. When I'm playing a cash game where I'm on TV and we're having a great time and I'm drinking, this is a hand where if that's going to be the place, that's the hand where I'm going to go with it. You know what I'm saying? Also, you have to understand, there's some days I come into the game, I'm conservative Mike, or I'm, loose Mike.
No, I got you.
Mike.
Right.
There's a lot of times, and don't get me wrong, to other people it might look like, yeah, okay, he could have played the hand better or not well. And you guys all have a point, and I agree with everything you're saying. But I'm just giving you where I was coming from on that hand.
It's all good.
I liked my hand. I was drinking. I didn't mind getting it all in. It's tough to give him fucking king 5 where he rips fucking 2 pair. I felt he wasn't that strong on the flop, which he wasn't.
Right.
And, it was a hand, yes. If I thought about it, of course I could have played it better. But, I'm not unhappy with my play.
Hey, listen, I'm only busting your balls because, like I said, I had put $100 bounty on when I was doing the commentary there. I said, whoever felts Dentale, if he gets felted, I will give an extra $100 to. So I had to come down there and give. So you have a chance here to atone for your ways.
Yeah.
You can make me money in 4 days. On March 19th, Royal Freeman wanted to know when the heads-up match is. It's March 19th. And you are a plus 135 favorite. I have money on you. You can atone for your ways and make your favorite commentator some money back.
I could promise you this. It's at 3 p.m., and I could promise you this. I will not be playing loose. I will not be making mistakes, and I will not be looking to get it in. So you will definitely see a very conservative, thought-out, calculated player Sunday. And I will look to capitalize on her inexperience and bury her. I will promise you that.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching it or not watching it. I'm not going to lie. I may not watch it, but I am rooting for you because I have money on it, okay?
Why?
Hey, dude, good luck.
Why wouldn't you watch it?
Because what day is today? Is it on a Saturday?
It's Sunday. Sunday at 3 p.m.
Yeah, dude, I got family on Sunday. Sunday's family day.
No.
I might be at the beach. I don't know. Like I said, if I'm home, I'll watch it. But if I'm not home, I'm not going to be home especially to watch this. Don't take it the wrong way. I'll watch it. I'll watch the recorded version later on.
Right, 100%. And also, we're gonna. I think it will be on Twitch and a few other things.
Yeah, it'll be on Twitch. Poker Night TV's doing it. It'll be on Twitch. It's all good. And I'm sure a lot of people watch it. Like I said, I might watch a little bit of it. But we'll see. Who knows where I'll be at 12 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon.
True.
Okay, dude. Good luck to you. Okay.
Thanks, bud.
Later, man. Mike Dentale, guys, as only Mike Dentale can be. I still think it's a great value bet. I'm a little bit concerned that he said he was going to play it really conservative and not look to get it in because I'm wondering if Cate Hall is going to use that against him and put some over bets in there. I don't know. That's something, if I was playing against Mike Dentale, I would probably use that. Dentale is one of those players in a full ring game, as I mentioned right before he got on the air. Right? I think he does well against inexperienced players, especially inexperienced players, because he's a lot tighter than he is perceived. I think because of the way he talks and because of his bigger-than-life persona, people think, inexperienced poker players, think that he's probably giving more action and he's more bluffy than he actually is. And that benefits him, and he knows that, and he gets paid and he gets chips. And that's why he's had some success on the tournament circuit. For those of you following us on Twitch, by the way, I want to thank everybody there. Royal Freeman, Top 2 Pair Muff, Sandy Joy, Doherty, Ron and Rogue. We are going to be migrating over to YouTube. In fact, we are streaming it on our YouTube channel, Crush Live Poker's YouTube channel, and I am also streaming it at twitch.tv/TuchOnSports. But I may only do Twitch one more week. So the migration is already begun, and I've got both chats open right now, so you can chat in both of those. But if you can, check out and go ahead over to that YouTube one. YouTube is probably a better place for this type of show. Now, when I start playing online, and I promise I still will do that at some point, that will happen on Twitch, on my Tuck on Sports channel. But these kind of interview podcast type shows will occur over at the YouTube channel. Okay? So that's where we are with that particular thing. Let's take a look at Twitter and see what's going on. There we go. I might get Dolly Man to join me, but he has had some issues, so I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not. There's Mike Dentale. Such a funny looking guy. I had a lot of I believe we're going to get Doug Polk on the line to talk about this heads-up match. He is actually commentating on it. I was supposed to commentate on it with Doug Polk, but unfortunately I am not. And instead, Doug Polk is doing it with Sean Deeb. So, but we'll see if we can get Doug Polk on the line, and we'll talk to him for a couple seconds. A lot of interviews on the show, man. All good stuff. Did I just get disconnected from him? Try that one more time. He's probably seeing the caller ID thing, so let me see if I can just let him know. Try Dougie one more time, Mr. Polk.
Hello?
Doug, this is Bob Wilson from Facebook. I wanted to talk to you about your fan page and why we took it down. How are you, man? You're under the gun, my man. How are you?
I'm good. How you been?
All well, all well. I got to play all of day 2 with your boy Jason Less up at the Bay 101.
Nice. How was that?
It was fun. It was fun. You know, it's always good to be at the table with some of your friends. I wasn't thrilled to see him come over because I was like, I know he's good, but I'd rather have some like local amateur at the table. But Jason and I are friends, so it was cool. It's all good.
I played debate. Shit, I'm like echoing. I can hear myself.
Let me call you back then. I'll call you back. It seems like the second time's a charm. I swear, I don't know what is up with Skype. It's like every single time I do this time, a second one, it works really well. I don't get it.
Hello?
Hi, this is John Paul from High Stakes Poker. We want to tell you that you have to stop using our videos. By the way, you're running into it on at every place, man.
Yeah, lately it's been a little dicey for me. Obviously the Facebook stuff, the Game Show Network stuff, some people on the internet, and you were talking about the Bay 101 tournament. It was funny, like when I was over there, someone at the table just told me they were gonna fucking kill me.
Wow.
Just casually.
That seems strong.
And then someone else at the table busted them, and he just gave the guy $100 as I had to leave the table.
Wow.
Oh god.
That's pretty harsh. Why did he give you a reason why he hated you?
He ran a bluff on me that I called right at the start of the session. I don't know, that was it, I guess.
That was all it took. You called the guy once, and that was over. I had a guy, by the way. I played a cash game with a dude I don't know, a month ago. He's one of the local spot, and I called him down with Ace King, and I was good. And we were I thought we were friendly before that, and I did, man. I guess game on. I guess we're not friends anymore. And I was like, what did I do?
Some people really think obviously this is an old school way of thinking, but some people think if someone's your friend, then that means that you have to take it easy on them when you play poker. And I don't know. I feel one thing that new school players are good about is understanding that it's all in the game, right?
Yeah, of course it's. Yeah, I play hard against my best friends. Bart and I have got epic hands together. But the whole funny thing is, if I reverse it and the guy's I'm oh, okay, so I have to take it easy on you. I can't call you with Ace King, but you're allowed to bluff me with Jack High. So
people are weird.
Yeah,
people are weird. It's the cliff.
So I like that the guy threatened your life and then put additional $100 bounty on your head.
Well, he didn't even say there was going to be a bounty. He just did it.
He just did it. It was just an added bonus. Were you a shooting star?
No, actually, funny story, I could have been, and it seemed negative EV to do it.
I got into a conversation with Dylan Wilkerson. Dylan, by the way, just won the circuit event. He just won his first ring at the bike, 2 days, last night, I think. Anyway, he was on my right the entire day one. And he's a pretty good player. I mean, I didn't see anything, awful. I thought he was a pretty good player. But we got into a conversation about, whether being a shooting star was positive EV or not. He was sure that it was positive. You think it's negative. Why?
Well, the problem is that when there's a bounty on your head, you increase the EV of people calling you down. So, I mean, basically, like, bluffing becomes way worse.
Yeah.
And, bluffing is a pretty important part of poker in order to try and win chips. So you have to play a little more like of a showdown-based style. I mean, if people are trying to knock you out for money, it's obviously bad for you because in tournaments, you don't want to go to war. You prefer to win small pots, chip up, whatever. When two people go to war, someone always gets burned, So it's better to, like, stay out of the fire.
That makes sense, yeah. I mean, I wasn't sure, to be honest. Fortunately, I sat down and I won, like, the second hand I played. So my bounty wasn't really an issue for most of my play. But I was curious how it would affect people playing against me. So, hey,
it certainly decreases the value of your buy-in. I think certainly.
Okay, well,
also think about it like this. Think about it like this too. Like, there's one less person at the table, or on your day one anyway. Like, you can't knock someone out and get the bounty, right? So, it seems like a disadvantage to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in my entirety of day one. Everybody I was at the table with could theoretically have knocked me out and won $2,500, and there was nobody that I could have knocked out and won $2,500.
Right, exactly.
So that's interesting.
Exactly.
Well. Hey, so I'm gonna pat myself on the back then. So I made a decent run, even with the weight of a bounty on my shoulders.
Nice.
There you go. Hey, I want to turn
how deep did you end up running?
Not that 52nd.
All right, I mean, that's still okay.
Yeah, it was fine. It was okay, but not where. No, obviously not. That's not why you play the tournaments. But
right, you definitely play it to win.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like I'm going in going, man, I'm hoping for it. I'm hoping for 52nd. You know what I mean? That's what I really want. I want 52nd place. Let's turn our attention to this heads-up match. I just had Mike Dentale on the line, by the way. So I have him and his bombastic ways. And I noticed your tweet. And I thought it was interesting because I was thinking along the same lines. For those of you who don't know, by the way, Doug is going to be commentating on this grudge match with Sean Deeb. And your, let's see, I just want to make sure I got this thing here. So Matt Glantz tweets out, the market seems to have settled as Cate the favorite at 1.35 to 1. At those odds, who do you like? Doug's response was, I think Cate is a small favorite. But 1.35 to 1 is ridiculous on a heads-up match that will likely involve less than 500 hands and two non-pro heads-up players. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm not sure how much everyone's familiar with heads-up, but basically, like, a good heads-up win rate, right? When one player has a solid win rate over someone else, they probably have around an 8 or 10 big blind per 100 advantage, right? Over 100, and that's per 100 hands. So basically, like, when you're in that situation, you're gonna slowly win money. But in a 500 hand live match, which is probably around the amount of hands they'll end up seeing, I'm just kind of estimating.
Right.
Let's just say someone has like a 10 big blind edge, then you're only going to end up winning 50 big blinds worth of expected value. In a match where there's going to be like at least a few hundred big blinds. And that's going to be assuming no one gets short, and that reduces the edge even further. And that's assuming that there's a big edge to begin with. So, like, Tuck, even if we played heads up no limit, me and you, right? And we're not, so I'm not trying to get you to come in here.
Let's do it. Are you challenging me? Because I'm up for it. Okay, let's go. Sorry.
It's on. It's on.
Hey, you know what? Anyway, I'm just gonna challenge you to, like, let's just play 200, 400, and then I'll just cancel on you because you won't come on my show.
Oh, that sounds familiar. Did that happen recently? But anyway, so here's the thing. Like, let's change it. Actually, let's say you're gonna play against one of my buddies who's really good at heads up, right?
Yeah.
If you gave me you were 45% to win that match, I would bet on you, because the thing is, like, at the end of the day, you're going to be an underdog, But like, as long as you're gonna fight for some pots and you play poker, you're gonna have a shot, man. And not just like a close shot, but you're gonna have a reasonably good chance to win. I mean, if you just sat down and jammed every hand, you wouldn't be that much worse than a 2-to-1 dog, right? So the point that I'm making is that 1.35 to 1, it's basically like saying that Cate's going to win 4 out of every 7 matches or so, something in that vicinity. And like I just can't really see that being the case, because we're looking at two people that are both not professional heads-up players, and at the end of the day, they're going to play under 500 hands, and luck is going to play a huge role in deciding who wins.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so for betting purposes, if I played you, or if I played Jason Moe, or whatever, a head pro, what do you think? What would be my line? Would I be plus 130? Would I be plus 140? Would I be plus 110? What would be a fair line, you think?
In this exact format that they're doing?
In this format.
Well, so that's obviously a lot worse because, you're going up against someone that plays heads up professionally, right? Which is already a different ball game than what we're looking at right now. But I think something like plus 120, plus 125, maybe plus 130 if you're especially bad. I don't know much about your heads up game, but if you know how to play, like if you have a good idea of what you're doing, some idea of what you're doing.
By the way, I have money on. I know you're not betting on it; you're commentating on it. If I was you and I were supposed to commentate on this, and obviously you and Sean are, which is cool. I love Deeb, but I would not bet on this if I was commentating on it. I don't want that. I like to be objective when I'm in the booth. But hey, since I'm not commentating on it, I'm going to try to make money off it. So I'm all over it. What are you expecting in this heads-up match from two non-pros? Dentale has admitted on my show he got no coaching. He's not preparing for it. He's just like, his attitude is, I've been playing this game for 10 years. She sucks. I know what I'm doing. I can beat her. I don't know for sure, but knowing her, I would bet my ass that she has been getting coaching. She's been preparing. She's been studying for this. What are you expecting?
Well, I have like a little bit of inside information, so I'm not going to say anything too specific. But, I think not trying to even prepare any is kind of stupid because your first few hours of studying, just like getting an idea of like what good heads-up players do pre-flop, right? That's like the most valuable time. Like your first couple hours spent studying will have a much bigger increase on your win rate than the next like 5 hours. So I have to say that not just like spending like a few hours trying to learn what good heads-up players do is kind of spewy, but at the same time, like I guess I don't really understand what Mike's full like position is. I think at least I know we did, but a lot of people saw the original like Twitter exchange, which by the way was completely ridiculous. Like I have not seen two people go to town on Twitter like that. I don't know, ever. I mean, that was up there for like Twitter exchanges.
And by the way, speaking of Twitter exchanges, you and I'm not going to mince words. You know about Twitter exchanges.
Yes, I'm someone that is known from time to time to get into Twitter exchanges.
Right, exactly. So coming from you is pretty rich. I mean, I like that.
But you see, here's the thing, though. If I get into a Twitter exchange, in general, I'm trying to be like kind of witty. Like there was a recent one where I got into a little bit of an argument with Negranu, and I like did like a Photoshop response like as a joke. But the thing is, like, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about like two people like calling each other like crackhead and like bitch and just like all of this shit like back and forth on Twitter. So like I guess if it was me and I somehow was involved in that, I would probably spend at least like a little bit of time to prepare.
You'd think?
Because like you obviously care to some extent, or else you wouldn't have agreed to do this and you wouldn't have been involved from the start,
Yeah, I would think that. I mean, obviously. I know Dentale has some money and he's got a successful business, but yeah, I mean, if you are going to take the trip to Pittsburgh to actually play this out, why not put at least a few hours in? Now, he did say this, and I thought it was kind of laughable. He said that he crushes the one-table sit-and-goes at the World Series of Poker every summer, and he doesn't shop those. So he plays that out. So he has to beat somebody each time.
I mean, those things are like basically just like hyper turbos or turbos.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the bottom line is this. Like, by the way, you said they're both non-pros. I mean, Cate Hall, I guess she's a pro. She's not a pro.
No, that's what I meant. No, they're both not heads.
That they're not had more time into learning like how to correctly play it. Like, you know, assuming like a relatively even skill set on learning, which I guess is debatable, but whoever decides to put in some more time and effort to like do the right things to learn is going to put themselves in a position to win, you know? So like, that's just like the way it is. But after that, you could maybe argue that like the overall result of the match changes so little from studying that maybe it's not worth it to you. Like, I don't know, is Mike, what are Mike's thoughts on the fact that the betting line is currently 1.35 to 1? Like, that has to be kind of insulting, right?
Yeah, oh no, he's outwardly, he thinks, he cannot fathom why anybody would think she's a favorite, and he thinks it's unreal that anybody would think she's that much of a favorite. And in fact, to the point where he is looking to put action on himself, he's willing to, if anybody, and I already said this out there, if anybody wants to put money on Cate Hall, Dentale is willing to, he's looking to put $20,000 more on himself at plus 135.
Well, yeah, at plus 135, if I was going to bet on it, and I'm not, but if I was going to, I would also bet on Mike. I mean, plus 135 is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I mean, I would not bet on this at all if it was, you know, if it was plus 110, plus 105. I wouldn't even bet on it. You know, my guess is if they, but I have no idea. I think it's probably, it's just a ton of variance, and it's going to be a lot of just like how the cards, how they run that particular day. And then also,
I think.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I think that the first hour or so is going to be really telling, at least to me as like, you know, an expert in the field. It's going to be really telling like kind of what the true line is. Like, if they come out of the gate and like, you know, Dentale's playing like a pretty solid style, or even like a pretty, like, all Mike has to do to be better than 135 is to play like a somewhat reasonable strategy. You know, he doesn't have to be making all the perfect moves and just like picking the right exact combinations out and stuff. Like, if he's just like getting in there, occasionally working in a few bluffs and playing like, you know, pretty loose and like kind of aggressive, he'll be better than 135. Like, that's just the only way he's going to be worse than 135 is if he's actually really bad at poker. And I don't really know much about him other than that hand he played against Samantha Abernathy, where he played Ace King like just awful. I mean, I know. Here's the problem: whenever you like make fun of someone who's playing live poker for a hand that they played, their response is always like, "Oh, well, dynamic," and like, you know, that guy knows that I know, and he knows that I know that I know, and like. And so, I don't know, like, maybe in general, I'm just going to, like, be a little more cautious on saying stuff is so negative. But at the end of the day, like, when you have Ace King and you, like, limp call and then just, like, call bets and stuff, I don't know, it did not leave, like, a good taste in my mouth for how strong of a poker game that Mike has. Although, you know, I will also say, like, I saw one hand. Like, maybe he's a good player. I just only saw that individual moment where he played poorly. But you know, there's also definitely been moments that Cate Hall had some questionable hands. I mean, the hand that kind of started the whole thing was that Ace-10 hand that she had. Right. You know, and the hand history was like kind of confusing because so much shit happened in it. But she essentially like back raised 4-bet, called it off with Ace-10 off, which
for like it was like 55 bigs, I think, right? Or no, it was like 85.
Yeah,
it was like no, I'm sorry, it was like 85 bigs.
I mean, probably pretty bad.
But I mean, listen. Doug, I pointed this out before. I have not had the pleasure of commentating on you very often, but I've commentated on you. You have probably now with your YouTube channel, you've probably covered a bunch of the hands that I have covered through the years. And I was just pointing this out before with Mike, and I've told my audience this many times. I go, I I can probably find a handful of hands for every single person and be like, yeah, they played this hand. They look terrible on this hand in a vacuum. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Including like
sure.
Phil Ivey.
Look, you can definitely find some hands I played badly like 2 weeks ago.
No, I mean it happens to everybody. It is funny. I am concerned that Dentale is going to be a little bit too conservative in this particular match. And that
have you watched either of them play very much?
I've been able to watch both play cash games for a little bit, not a ton, but I've watched them both play cash games, and I've talked with both of them. I think Cate Hall. My gut is that Cate Hall is a better player, and that Cate Hall is also going to prepare for this a little bit better. And I think going in on, I think it's Sunday is the match.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Sunday, March 19th. My gut is that she will be the more aggressive player, and that I think Dentale might be folding too often and be too conservative. But
I mean, if he, I guess let's just get this out of the way. Like, heads up poker, you have to bluff a ton. Like, it's like a huge part of the game. Which is also, by the way, what I think makes it like a much more interesting game than a lot of other game types. So if someone's going to think they're going to get in there and just kind of play tight and value bet, like, good luck. You know, and it's also kind of like, okay, so here's the cool thing about heads up. In general, and I'm gonna kind of simplify this. You know, people are going to get like all technical about the way that certain things work, but basically in heads up, there's different kind of play style, and they kind of counter each other, you know, somewhat. And the general idea is kind of like this: people that bluff a lot tend to lose to people that are stations, just kind of the way it is. And people that are very conservative tend to do better against people that are stations. People that, you know, play loose but then don't pay off later tend to do well against tight players. And that's the circle that we've seen heads up like a lot. Like, in general, I would say that, like, my overall play style is, like, definitely on, like, the stationy side and definitely on, like, the bluffy side. So the people, when I look back at my career, that tended to have the most success against me were people that just, like, did not put up with any bullshit and just called me down in a lot of spots. And people that, like, you know, still bluffed, but like didn't get carried around trying to bluff. That's the kind of style I generally struggled with the most over the course of my career. But there's different matchups that go different ways. Like, for example, let's say that they start playing, right? And let's say that Mike is willing to play, like, he's just going to, like, concede some pre-flop advantage. Like, he's just going to play a bit too tight pre-flop.
Right.
And then what he's going to do post-flop is, if Cate tries to, like, barrel or just, like, push him around, he's just going to call down with whatever, okay? And again, simplifying it, but just let's just say that's his strategy. Well, if Cate decides he's going to get in there and just, like, aggressively bluff all over the place, then what happens is the little amount of money that Mike lost from pre-flop by playing too tight, he makes up way more than that post-flop by having someone that's trying to just constantly bluff him when he has a stronger range of hands that's not going to fold. So there's, like, a lot of different, like, matchup type stuff in heads up, you know. And at the higher levels, everyone kind of has these gears. Everyone plays like a reasonably balanced strategy. So it's a little more subtle in terms of how often they happen. But I would not be, you know, I don't think that just playing too passive or playing conservative, yeah, it's not the optimal strategy for sure. But that could be a great strategy against people that are just going to try and, like, barrel off against you way too much.
Right, and that could be what she does. I don't know. I'm intrigued to watch it. It is on Sunday, guys. I don't know the exact time, guys. Follow Poker Night in America or follow Doug. They'll let you know exactly what time. It's not hard. For those of you guys who are watching this live, thanks so much for joining us. Doug, man, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. I was curious of your insight going into this.
Yeah, no problem. Always down to come on the show. Pleasure as always, Tuck.
I appreciate it. Hey, wait, before I go, let's plug this. Hey, guys, you guys check out. I've already told you to subscribe to us over at YouTube, but you should also subscribe to Doug. It is very simply youtube.com/Doug Polk Poker. You can follow him at Doug Polk Poker on Twitter. He has blown up. Hey, Doug, man, congratulations on everything that you do. You do a good job, buddy, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks again, and I will talk to you later, man.
Later, buddy. So, some insight into the heads-up match that will be this week. Like I said, I mean, my sample size on both players is so small. I pride myself on being able to read players, though. And, like, my read of Dentale is, the such that I don't think he actually bluffs that often. I think he uses his image to take advantage of less experienced players. My read with Cate is, Cate. I think Cate is definitely approaching the game from a more technical, mathematical point of view. And obviously, I think she is improving at a fairly fast pace. My guess with Cate is that if she has a weakness at this point, and she probably has many weaknesses, but the one weakness that I guess she would have right now is that she probably does level herself a little bit. There's an old saying of a little bit of information can be dangerous. And I think when you're taking so much in at such a quick pace and you're learning so fast, a lot of times that saying can be apropos, where it is a little bit of information can be dangerous. I want to thank everybody that joined us, by the way. Patrick Knight, Super Straddle. Guys, I don't know exactly what time. Sorry. I know it's on Sunday. BJ Morowski, Baknizov, the Hammer. Hey, Hammer. What's going on? Thanks all you guys for joining us. Once again, we are migrating over to the YouTube channel, and we'll be chatting there going forward. We may be on Twitch one more week, but that'll be it. It'll be YouTube going forward. I think this type of show is just better over there. As always, if you want to get a hold of me, you can. Email me, davidt@crushlivepoker.com. You can send me a direct message to forums. I encourage you to use those over at crushlivepoker.com. You can send me a tweet at TuckOnSports. All sorts of good stuff. Pappy Van Winkle, what's up, my man? Full Circle Stopper. Hey, how are you? Thanks so much for joining us, guys. NMN Grinder. By the way, plus 135 does not imply that she is a 35% favorite. In fact, it implies that she is about a 57. She'll win 57.8% of the time, which would mean that she's about a 15% favorite, a 15% edge over her opponent. Which, and you heard it from Doug. I mean, he's saying that he would bet on me against one of his heads-up pro specialists. You know what I mean? And he doesn't even know that I actually play that. I do play heads up occasionally, but plus 135 is just a large number. If I had to handicap this and I had to set a line, I would probably set the line at closer to plus 110 at the most. You know what I mean? At the most, plus 110. I think anything over that. I think even plus 115 is value. Plus 120 is too much value. Plus 135 is ridiculous. So I was very happy to get some money on that. I've got one more hand that I want to get into, and then that we'll call it a day. It is hand of the week here. So I was playing 5-5 at Hustler, my normal casino. If you guys want to come say hi to me, you can. I am there Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. The buy-in is $1,000, but the game plays larger than a normal 5-5 game would. Like most of the players that buy in are buying in for $1,000. And if somebody goes broke, they almost always rebuy for another $1,000. So it's very often, like if you come down at night, there will very often we'll have like $16,000 to $20,000 on the table in a 5-5 game. So it's pretty good, or more. Anyway, so in this particular pot, we're gonna get multi-way action. I was actually not in the pot. I did raise it. I raised with King Jack suited. And I got like 4 callers. 2 of the callers was one guy. We'll call him Peter. Okay? And Peter likes to see a lot of flops. And then the other guy we'll call him Harry. Okay? And Harry is on the tighter side. If Harry is calling a raise or Harry ever puts money in the pot, more often than not he has it. I mean, the guy bluffs like once a month. Okay? You're not going to make a living, heroing this guy. Both really nice guys, by the way, and they're both regulars in the game. Anyway, the flop comes out, and it is, I've got it on my phone here because I plugged it in here. So let's just get it up. Okay, so the flop is ace, 9, deuce, 2 diamonds, and 1 club. Okay? The ace is a diamond, and this is important. The ace is a diamond, the 9 is a diamond, and the deuce is a club. Now, my raise was in like early-ish position with king jack suited. I had king jack of clubs, so terrible flop for my hand when I get 4 callers. The both blinds check. I check it. It folds around to Harry, who bets. Harry is not betting without a minimum of a flush draw. Like, he's not just betting. He has to have either a big ace, a set, or like king, queen of diamonds type hand. Jack 10 of diamonds, something like that, okay? Anyway, flop, Harry bets. Peter calls out of the blind. Everybody else folds. The turn is a 10 of spades. So once again, the board, ace diamonds, 9 diamonds, deuce clubs, 10 spades. Harry bets again. Okay? Now, if Harry's betting again, he almost never has just a diamond draw. At this, because he's ace. So at this point, he's going to put Peter on a draw or a weaker ace because Harry's probably got ace king, ace queen type hand. Maybe ace jack. Ace jack, though, might even be too weak for him to double barrel. Turn is a 10. Harry bets. Peter calls. The river is the 9 of clubs. Now keep in mind, once again, the flop was ace, 9, deuce. The ace and the 9 were diamonds. Turn was a 10 of spades. The river, the 9 of clubs. Okay, so the river pairs the board. Now this was the interesting thing. Harry's bet on the turn was $200 and only left himself about $185 behind. Okay? Gets back, and now Peter, on the river, open shoves. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching the hand. This is what I would advise any of you guys to do while you're not playing, is try to hand read. You want to work on your hand reading analysis, and you want to work on that skill. Read hands while you're not in the hand. And I'm like, this hand is really, I'm like, what is Peter trying to rep? It doesn't make any sense. So Harry goes in the tank. And because Harry is 100% putting Peter on a 9. But let's go back to the flop. The flop was ace, 9, deuce. The 9 was the diamond and the ace was the diamond. So Peter could not have 9x of diamonds. He couldn't have a flush draw and backed into trips. Now, if the deuce had paired on the river, that would be a hand that would be in his range. King, deuce of diamonds, queen, deuce of diamonds. These are hands that he might, 5, deuce of diamonds. These are all hands that he might have called out of the big blind, especially when 3 other players called. So when the river pairs the deuce, he has trips, he leads out. So if I had a big ace and I was playing against Peter and he led out on the river, I would definitely put trip deuces in his range. But when I'm reading this hand, I'm going, wow, Peter just doesn't have any 9s. If he had a 9, he might turn 100% of the time unless he has something else going on. Okay? Now, once again, it was ace of diamonds, 9 of diamonds, deuce of clubs, 10 of spades. So he can't even have like 9x of spades and picked up a flush draw. That's not even in his range. So my hand reading, I'm thinking to myself going, this particular player, he can't have trip 9s. He has to actually have either a better hand than that or a worse hand. And then the problem is, if he had a better hand than trip 9s, well, that would mean that he turned 2 pair or he flopped a set. But if he turned 2 pair, isn't he check raising all in on the turn? Remember, Harry bet $200 on the turn, leaving him only $185 behind. There's no chance, I don't think, that Peter is going to check call when he makes 2 pair or a set on the turn. He's going to get it in at that point. Now, one thing that Peter was talking about, and he goes, well, you go to the next level and you can go, well, this is what Harry was thinking as well. it's such a small amount of money. How could it ever be a bluff? You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, if I bet 600 on the river and you move all in for 640, is the extra 40 ever a bluff? No, you could very easily go, no, it can't be a bluff because you have no fold equity. So, and I used that, by the way, back in 2012, I used that theory of, it can't be a bluff because you shouldn't have any fold equity against this particular player, and I was able to actually pull off a bluff. But this is a situation where, yeah, I can understand you going, yeah, it can't be a bluff, and this doesn't make a ton of sense. And I could theoretically make that argument if the river hadn't paired the board. If the river was just some random card, I could be like, wow, maybe Peter did actually have 5 deuce of diamonds, and he made 2 pair in the river, and he's shoving. But because the board paired, it becomes really, really difficult for me to put Peter on a hand that can beat my ace-queen or my ace-king if I'm Harry. Because Peter doesn't have trip 9s. If he had 2 pair or better, he's going to move all in on the turn. Is he really going to play like ace-king this way? Check call, check call. Oh, now I'm going to shove. It just doesn't make any sense. Harry eventually folded, and I was beside myself. I was like, what a bluff. And Peter showed me queen 5 of diamonds for a stone-cold bluff. And like I said, after the fact, he even said, he goes, well, I shoved thinking that, my opponent, it's such a small amount of money, my opponent can't possibly fold now. And by the way, size of the pot was $125 pre-flop, another $75 on the flop. So you're looking at $275, another $400 on the turn, so $675. The pot on the river, by the way, was about $860, $185 to call. And like I said, Harry had minimum ace-queen probably. And he folded that one, and Peter took that down. But I don't think it was a tremendously difficult hand to understand. But I think at the 5-5 and 5-10 level, or any level below, or even sometimes you can play bigger, this is just basic hand reading that a lot of less experienced players fail on. And just very easy situations where you can pick up on. It's one of the reasons Bart and I always talk about really paying attention to not only the flop, what suits are with what cards, like what hands make sense. For example, if the flop is ace-9 deuce and the ace and the deuce are diamonds, well, then it makes a lot more sense that my opponent could actually have trip 9s. In fact, that's a lot of what makes up his range is 9x of diamonds. And he could have 10-9 of diamonds, 9-8 of diamonds, 9-7 of diamonds, jack-9 of diamonds. All of those are in his range. And if I start adding all of those hands into the pile of hands that I can't beat, maybe it becomes a fold. Now, I don't know if in this particular spot it does, since I'm getting more than 4-1, but you understand where I'm going. 606, someone on stars. What's up, guys? How are you guys? Yeah, good day. We had a good day of guests. I had Chance Kornuth on at the beginning of the show, talking about chip leader coaching and other stuff. We had Mike Dentale on the line, and then we had Doug Polk on the line. We were talking a lot of heads up here. I'm David Tuchman. As always, I'm here every Wednesday night. It is currently 4:51 p.m. local time. Normally, we start 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific, but Chance Kornuth had to do it earlier because his father's birthday. So I wanted to accommodate him, so we decided to do an earlier show today. As I mentioned, guys, we are migrating the live show to YouTube, and in fact, all of the recorded shows are also on YouTube as well. It's on our YouTube channel, so head over to Crush Live Poker and do that. I might have the show streamed on Twitch for maybe 1 or 2 more weeks. I am not abandoning Twitch. I love it, but I don't think this show is... I don't think its best home is here. As always, if you want to get a hold of me, you can. Tweet me at TuchOnSports. Send me an email, davidT@CrushLivePoker.com. Or, of course, you can send me a direct message over on our forums at CrushLivePoker.com. If you want to get 1 month free at Crush Live Poker, you can use the code DTA403. That is going to do it for us. I'm going to leave us with a little song called Heads Up, Hearts Down by Fight Dragons. Not necessarily a great song, but I think it's appropriate. I feel like a 15-year-old girl all over again, jumping around in my room.
Dear, wait your turn.
Thanks, guys, for joining us. I appreciate it. Love you all. I will see you next Wednesday. More action here. What's up, Connor? Connor Bergen says, Tuck sounds intense about everything. Dude, I am intense. Okay? Life's a good thing. Later, Craig. See you guys soon.